In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, our special guest is Mr. Mitchell Rivers. Mitchell Rivers is the founder and CEO of Career Education Learning Center, a division of MDR Enterprise LLC, with over 2 decades of experience in operations and management in the financial and retail industries. Mitchell brings a wealth of expertise. He excels in verbal communication, dynamic presentations, and problem solving. Mitchell has acquired licenses in securities, health insurance, and life insurance, enhancing his extensive knowledge base. With over 20 years of experience in banking and finance, he has refined his skills and deepened his understanding of operational excellence. Mitchell holds a bachelor's degree in business management from UNC Pembroke, where he gained valuable insights into effective leadership and strategic planning. He also earned an associate's degree in liberal arts from Central Piedmont Community College, broadening his perspective. Outside of work, Mitchell actively participated in the men's ministry at his church, demonstrating his commitment to spiritual growth and community engagement. In his leisure time, he enjoys sports and supporting young individuals in their pursuit of goals. Mitchell embodies the entrepreneurial spirit and serves as a mentor and advocate for education through his passion and extensive experience. He strives to empower individuals to realize their full potential and unlock new opportunities. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mitchell Rivers, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing very fine, Mr. King. That was I wonder who you're talking to. I didn't know that was me, or you had another guest coming. Is there another guest coming? Who is this guy? I don't recognize that guy.
So how's everything going? And is there anything you'd like to add to your bio before we get into the show?
You said more than enough, man. That was a great bio. I can't wait to meet that person myself.
That's what's
There's
up.
nothing more to add there, sir.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna then let's go right into your career as an entrepreneur. And can you tell us what was the spark that ignited your journey into entrepreneurship?
Well, the spark came in, probably like most sparks come in when you've been in corporate America for a long time. Now I did run Career Education Learning Center as a nonprofit back between 2006 and 2013. I ran as a nonprofit and mainly to give back to the community that gave a lot to me. And so our core mission then as a nonprofit was mainly to help students find scholarship grants, endowments, and other financial needs in order to attend college, whether it's community college, four-year college, specialized school, or whatever, anywhere they can get certifications, licenses, somewhere to make sure they can attain some type of career in which they value themselves. So, I just think a lot of times we always think that kids need to go to 4-year school or maybe 2-year school or this or that. But there are other activities and other colleges out there. Johnson & Wales that does with cooking and other things. Where I went to, Central Piedmont has a vast array of careers out there, welding, air conditioning, heating. And so they do very well there. And I was wondering, can we expose kids to these activities too? How they come about, Charles, is mainly through, I used to do junior achievement. And so when I done junior achievement, I was working at the bank then, and I would go around and teach different classes high school and elementary school. But when I taught high school students, I would talk to them about maybe what they're going to do after high school, going to the military, or whether they're going to go to college, 4-year, 2-year college. What are their career plans for the future? And a lot of them kept saying, well, I want to go to college, but I don't have money to go to college. I would ask them simple questions as, hey, have you visited your counselor yet? Your career counselor here? No. Have you lived at any colleges? No. Have you been on any field trips or visits? No. And so that's when I decided to get involved in that aspect of people's careers, especially young people.
Well, I think that's very interesting that, your entrepreneur journey is that to enhance and for the embetterment of the next generation. Can you tell me, what was it about the next generation that just prompted you to really wanted to reach out and to expand in your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, mainly that came about through my past, my history. When I was growing up, I had people that poured into me. I had a career counselor that was a family friend, as well as the community college in Statesville, North Carolina, where I'm from, and to where he told me about scholarships and grants and everything else. And so my first year, I went on a full ride scholarship. Not only that, but I also told about, my mother made me suggested I go to the military and reserves as another way of paying for my colleges. And so there's a myriad of ways, even when I went to 4-year school, working in summertime. And so I was just so blessed to have people pour into me and to help me out that I just wanted that way to get back to the community, especially young people. And I thought a way, as you talking about entrepreneurship, so when COVID hit, I thought, why don't I do this as a business? Something I enjoy and I'm passionate about, and start my entrepreneurship journey. I've been talking about it for a long time, like a lot of people have been in corporate America, and they always say leap of faith, right? So I just took that leap of faith. And so for the last couple of years, with MDR Enterprises, they consist of a podcast, also a radio segment and a television segment. So I just started to do that journey there. And can I do like most people want to do, make money and give back at the same time?
Right. Oh, wow. Can you share the story behind your first business venture?
As far as individual, my first business venture, I'm mainly my nonprofit, my first business venture. I mean, as far as my first jobs I having, I had a myriad of jobs that I thought, which I can say, got me ready to prepare for what I'm doing, entrepreneurship. I was in the military, was helping show about discipline and leadership. Then I worked in retail management, in which I had to learn to work for budget, inventory, people, and customers. And then I finally went into banking and finance, in which I learned that part of side of society. So knowing how to budget and knowing the backside of banking and loans and everything else that you need in order to get a business. And wow. I think by me going to workshops at the same time, that kind of helped me out as far as, getting my entrepreneurs started and going that route.
So what challenges did you face early on and how did you overcome them?
Charles, that sounds like my segment. I was here on my show. That's the same questions I said on my show. What challenges you have? You have many challenges. And the array of challenges, or the challenges that most people have, is mainly capital. It's capital and getting enough money to start your business. But the thing that I had advantage of is that coming into the business world in 2022 is that technology, right? Social media. It doesn't take much capital to start up. And it don't take much overhead to run your business. And so that's the challenge I have mainly was getting started up. And then technical challenges, right? I'm over 50 years old, so I'm not the most technically sound person. And so I need help technically as far as getting things set up. But as I remember back in my day, learning being a manager, is that always, if you need help, always get help when you need it. And that's one of the things I had to learn as a manager, Charles, is that one of the complaints I had from my district manager when I was manager is that you had to learn how to delegate. That word delegate, because I want to do everything myself and make sure everything's done perfect, but I had to learn to delegate. Well, that came in handy when I started my business. I had to learn how to delegate different parts of my business. So I have a videographer. I have a person to help me out when I was doing newsletters and other ventures as far as that. Even social media help, right? I need social media help for my sons to help me out with social media, to do LinkedIn, to get on Instagram, and other social media platforms. And so that's the type of help that I needed. And that was the challenge I needed too. Plus, here goes the biggest challenge that everybody has, Charles: fear. That fear that you have, do I want to go out on my own? I've been in the comfortability of corporate America, getting a paycheck, regular paycheck, 9 to 5, do I want to go out there and go out on my own and take, that failure may be there, the challenges are going to be there. So that's the other thing I had to come to, fear. So between fear and financial, those are the challenges I had in the beginning, because I'm not one, and I know I talk a lot, people know I talk a lot, is that one thing is talking conversational. Another thing is to put yourself out there. I had to put my brand out there, my picture out there. You see it all over the social media there, and really put myself out there. But if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, then you have to put yourself out there, especially these days with your brand and all the social media outlets, as long as, print and whatever you choose to do.
So can you tell our audience this? Because, as I've spoken to entrepreneurs that's been here on the show, you said the one thing that's a commonality of each of them, and that is they had there was a issue with capital in starting their business. What are some of the things that you would recommend to some of our people that are watching now to learn how to overcome that obstacle and keep pushing?
Yeah, one of the things I think that I learned is to ask for help and ask entrepreneurs. That's probably the best way is ask other entrepreneurs that even people that run a service station, gas station, even people, barbers, anybody that runs their own business with a small restaurant, whatever, as entrepreneurs. Also attend classes, right? Not only online classes, but classes that may be at your technical community college. They have small business centers all over there. Contact the small business centers. I know here in Charlotte, we have a great one at Central Piedmont Community College. I've been to a couple workshops, seminars, do online seminars. That's something that you need to utilize. And I think I need to do a lot more, but I think that's something that will help people who start now is to go to those first classes. They have a lot of beginning classes at the community colleges. Even the Chamber of Commerce. That's another way of doing it. Contact your Chamber of Commerce. A lot of business people, even at your church, try your church. There's a lot of business people. Your alumni chapter. So if you went to college or high school, try your alumni chapter. There are people that have their own businesses. So I think one of the most important things for you to help me overcome mine is to talk to other entrepreneurs and attend those classes, ask questions. I guess that's the thing, Charles, that we need to do more is ask questions. You don't know everything. You're something new. So go back to the beginning and start asking questions. And I tell my son that, I don't want to ask questions. I want to be shy. Well, the only way you're going to find out is to ask. People can't read your mind. You have to ask the questions. They don't know what stage you're in your entrepreneurship. So you need to ask those questions. How do I get about money? Are there SBA loans I can get? Or there county loans or city loans I can get? Are there free grants? Ask about grants, right? Grants another way, grant writers. There's a lot of grant writers online that you can contact at the community college grant writers. And so try to get a myriad of ways of getting money for yourself in order to overcome that fear of starting out and that fear of capital. And that's what I did.
So what do you define success as an entrepreneur? How do you define success as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question, Charles, and I never come to that conclusion yet. But I guess success would mainly be once you're able to get your operations running without needing you. And that would be successful to me. When you can have your business running and you don't have to be there and everything's running fine-tuning and you're still able to make a profit, that's success to me. Not being the employer. Because most of the time, most entrepreneurs, you start off wearing many hats. And the less hats you wear, then the better off you'll be, and the more successful you'll be overall. You become an entrepreneur most of the time not to be self-employed. I think there's a little difference between self-employed and entrepreneur in the sense that self-employed people, you work all the time and you only make money when you work. But if you become an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, then you don't have to be there when making money, right? You don't have to be there all the time running operations or whatever. You have hired employees to do that job for you. Now you can sit back and really do the strategic planning that you need to do in order to take your business to the next level.
Wow. Now, you said a whole mouthful that was nothing but just some positive reinforcement. And the reason why I say that is because You know, most people, when they say you ask them to define success, the first thing that comes out is money.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
don't think it's money. And, you know, and because I love the way you put that, because it makes sense that once you have started and, you know, you get to start giving some of those hats away, as you said, it
Mm-hmm.
makes it that much easier, but it makes you that much better.
Yes, it does, Charles. And not only that, but then you can, like I said before, you can strategically start planning to grow. You know, if you have a franchise, you know, then you start having 2 or 3 franchises. If you have, let's take for instance that if you have a lawn care business, you know, and you start off doing all the lawn care by yourself. Next thing you do, you know, you get another, let's say you get another truck to in lawn care business. Somebody help you, 2 trucks. Let's just say 2 trucks, right? And then you get 3 trucks. Okay, and now you're hiring employees. And so now you got 3 or 4 trucks. Now you don't have to be there all the time. So now you can hire people to do that job for you and start expanding. Now to where you maybe have been doing, let's say residential. Now you can start doing commercial. Now you can expand your business, right? Now you can start doing apartment complexes. Now you can start doing schools and other areas that need lawn care. You know, and so that's just an example I know that people have done in the past. You know, I read a book here and called Morris Jenkins by Morris Jenkins, Air Conditioning and Heating. How he started off real small, and then he just expanded, and now he got what 2,000, you know, a bunch of trucks, one of the leading air conditioning heating in the South. You know, started with 1 or 2 trucks, and just started expanding. And then not only did he expand air conditioning and heating, but then he found out by asking his customers questions that they had plumbing trouble, and so now he does air conditioning, heating, and plumbing. You know, and so he expanded to that thing. And so then he found a niche. Like, you know what? People don't stay up, especially when I was growing up. And me and you about the same age, Charles, that most of the time, if it was up to 6 o'clock, you cannot get a repairman to repair your air conditioning and heating. You will have to wait till the next day. And you sweat to death or you be cold that next night. Well, he thought I did, wow, why don't I go to midnight? And so he started going late, getting a lot of times those customers that normally would be put on the next day, that he can do it that same day. And that made people happy. And then he really got smart, Charles. Then he thought about, why don't I have a program where if people give money per month, right, then they get special preferred treatment, right? They get two checkups per year, and then if they call in, then they get like a preferred treatment, like skip the line. So they've been part of the preferred program, and that costs $19 a month. Then I don't know how much it costs now, but that's more extra income. See what I'm saying? Is that he expanded, and at the same time, new ideas came on to expand his business. Now he got extra income coming in on a residual basis.
So, what industries have you worked in, and which one taught you the most?
You know what, Charles? I think I worked mainly in retail industry and finance and banking. And I think each of them taught me to where I am today. As I stated before, retail taught me about delegation, it taught me about leadership, it taught me about working with customers. That's working with customers. It taught me being patient with employees, especially when you have to work with teenagers. Woo! Boy, some of the stories I can tell you there. I know this is a long podcast, but man, I don't have enough time to tell y'all the story I went through in retail. That'll tell you a lot. you know, I mean, you know, people take off their wig. You know, customers want to fight each other. You know, that's just a whole lot.
You got that right.
And so I learned a lot during that time. As far as those type of, I think those type of qualities that helped me in what I'm doing today. Now, of course, banking and finance also taught me more detail oriented. Because when I learned about finance, of course, it's very detail oriented. I learned about a lot of computer systems too, a lot of software that they use. So how important software is and how important data is for your business. So you can find data, computer skills, and still that customer relationship that you got to have, and just another different way of looking at things. Not looking at things for a financial way. And also, you know, retail company taught me that too, in a sense. Retail, because each store, depending on what store I work for, was their own individual entity. And so that really was a way that I said when I got out of retail for big corporations, is that if I ever done a retail store, I would do it by myself. Because then you had to wear kind of like many hats within the hat. So as I said before, you had work with employees, you had work with upper management, right? Then you had to work with your managers that you have, and then you had to worry about inventory. Then you had to worry about problems that come up. So one thing I learned about that's why I'm glad you said that is problem solving. You learn a lot of problem solving. Probably 90% of your area is problem solving in retail management. People don't understand that. You have everything else going pretty good because it's set up by the corporation, right? You have your inventory coming in. You have different managers doing their jobs to make sure everybody's in the right place, registers, and everything else. You have problem with the computers. You call help desk. You have problem with the freezers. If you're in a grocery store or something, you have someone to call. You have trouble with plumbing. You have someone to call. So there's an array of people that already contracted to call. So you know that when you have your own business, that you might want to set up to have that same setup, have people on. If you can't afford a retainer, at least know who to call just in case things happen on your business.
How do you stay innovative in a competitive market?
Be aware, read, be aware, continue to ask questions, continue to go to seminars, workshops, especially try to get in associations that within the environment that I'm in. That helps a lot. Anything new coming out, your association will be able to alert you about those new stuff coming out, and read and continue to grow and continue to network. So I think networking, going to workshops, seminars, continue to listen to other entrepreneurs and what they're doing, and just continue to listen to people like you, man.
Tell us this though, because I mean, like, all those things you said, are very, very key. But like in today's time, especially let's say like from the last 3 to 5 years up to now, everything has been about technology and AI.
Yeah.
So how are you staying innovative when it comes to the technology and the AI?
Yeah, again, I think it's networking. I mean, I'm working with a young, it's about my age, but I'm calling a young lady anyway. Young lady now that's gonna as far as using what's it called? I want to say Chat
GPT.
Yes, using Jet PGT, AI, using more AI. And so she's going to say, well, we're going to automate you more and get more up to date, right? There's been changes, way back when, and even technology changes and software changes. And so in order to keep up with that, again, what helps me keep innovative is that technology make you keep innovative, right? New software coming out all the time. New way of doing things coming all the time. Young people also, because I call the college students, Charles, they help keep me young in technology and everything else because they up to date on all technology. I have 2 sons, so they real good at technology. They help me out when I need help. I'm that old person back in the day when your mother and your father say, "Hey, how you do this?" and "What you do this?" So I become the old man on the couch. Hey, how you do this? How you do that? Hey, fix this, fix that. Back in our days, that VCR, right?
Yes, exactly.
But they get the VCR working, and then computers. Hey, how you do this on computer? Now it just technology is integrated so much. You talking about I do DoorDash on the side. Talking about DoorDash, the software they have to use there, and even there for a short period of time I've done it. They've updated that software at least twice. So and the number of times when I went to the banks, and you would think the financial institutions I changed 2 or 3 times, that one would go to another, right? It would be like the same system, and every system was so different. Not only was every system so different, the systems even within a corporation change, right? They start off with one software, then they start off with another software, and it's changing. And so I think technology and where the world is going either force you to change or you will die, as they say. Either change or you become antiquated.
I got 2 comments here in the chat, both from Magma Solomon. I hope I said your name correctly. First thing he said is nice to be here. And his second comment is, he says, exactly, Mr. Rivers, capital is the most challenging aspect in starting a business.
Yes, unfortunately it is. I mean, it's been that way since the beginning of time almost. I know even when I took business classes in high school, the number one thing was capital. We talking about minorities opening business or why businesses fail. As always, capital is always on top of the list. And so the advantage that we have today is that if you have a career in technology, like on social media, then you don't need as much capital. Now, if you start a new restaurant, you start a grocery store, you start some type of even you might not need as much capital for as a barber shop or hair salon, but even then you need capital to get new machines, and mainly that capital is going to come from rent and everything else. So it is challenging, but as I stated before, technology help eliminate some of those financial challenges depending on what industry you're in.
But something else though about that is, I think as going now into times that as we're going forward, and we're talking about innovation, I think as this technology is evolving every second, every minute, every day, every hour, every week, every month, is that as it's evolving, we're going to have to constantly evolve as well.
Yes,
Do
I
you
agree.
think that? Do you think that people that are the ages of you and I are going to be able to continue as that trend rise, or are we going to have to get more and more of those young, innovative minds to help to continue that trend?
Well, let's look at the big companies. Google, TikTok, and other big companies. What do? They get young people, right? Get them right out of college. Silicon Valley, a lot of young people, right? Even here in the Research Triangle area, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area, young people, fresh out of college. And so, yes, those young people are going to have drive their innovation. They're going to have drive it going forward because they just, when you're young, and I was thinking about the day about running. When you're young, you got all the energy in the world. As you get older, your mind going 10,000 miles, and if you're the one working on something, you want to do something.
Right.
You want to make it better. You want to make it faster. You want to make it different. And so your brain is constantly moving to where you want things easier and going. And now with the so-called quote unquote brand, right? Everybody want to be a brand. Everybody has to have this and that. Then they want to get an edge on the competition. And so that's why the technology come in, is that I want to get an edge on competition. And if it's a way to, unfortunately, if it's a way to cut expense as far as sometimes labor, right? For automation, then the companies are more than welcome to do that. That's why they do it. So a lot of manufacturing companies, or even today, even if you go in your McDonald's or any other restaurant, what do you have? The kiosk, right? The
Yep.
kiosk. So you have less people doing the kiosks. They care about kiosks. So if McDonald's get kiosks, then we're gonna have kiosks. Walmart. Oh, Walmart have self-checkout, then Food Line gonna have checkout, then Target gonna have self-checkout, So it's competition that's gonna make you be innovative, and competition gonna make you move. Because you fall too far behind, then like I said before, we have seen companies come and go. Back in my day, you had Sears were big, Woolworths were big. I mean,
Yep.
a lot of big, stores were big. Roses was big. I mean, Kroger was big. I mean, Kroger's up there, but it was really huge then. And Walmart came in, Target came in, and other small came in, and small companies came in and just dominated the market. And one industry I was in that changed a lot, Charles, was the pharmacy industry. As far as
Oh wow.
drugstores have changed a lot. In the beginning, you had, I think, was like they just called them Big Five, and that comes again from reading papers and keeping up. Back in the day, we read the papers, and mainly you had Walgreens, you had CVS, you
Yep.
had
McCory's,
yeah, yeah,
Eckerd's.
Eckerd's, right. And you had what's called the Big Five. But what happened, how that Big Five became slower than the Big Two, and then everybody else, is because Walmart came in. Walmart came in and just came in a different avenue. That was hot. There's nothing Walmart could do that could go wrong, and they came into pharmacy. And so then you have grocery stores now offering pharmacies. So while all the rest of them, Eckerd's and the other ones went down, to where the only two remaining, basically two big chains, are CVS and Walgreens. Now, you ever notice wherever there's a Walgreens, there's a CVS right nearby, right?
Yep. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah. And then you have Walmart, right, in the big juggernaut. And right now, Target, I used to work at Target part-time, and they have CVS come in there. They said, you know what? We used to do our own, but why don't we contract this out, have them pay rent in our stores, another way of making money, and then that way we be like Walmart without having all the overhead as Walmart or the liability as Walmart, because it's CVS. CVS said, well, great. We'll just take y'all traffic that y'all already have, and we go there, dispense more of our medicines, and make money on our part. And so that's where the drug industry is going these days, as far as drugstore industry. You still have your little independents, but for the most part, Those are the big three basically. Would be Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens.
So, what's your approach to building a sustainable business model?
It is hard. I mean, that comes down to me as far as sustainable business model, and that is a key for any entrepreneur. I mean, it's still unfortunate. Even back in my day, high school, all the way up to now, 85% of the business failed within the first year.
Mhm.
And if you want to open up a restaurant, if everybody want to open up a restaurant, but they even higher, it's hard to keep that restaurant higher, and there's more and more competition. Before you might have had one soul food at this place, or one soul food taking up the whole area. Let's take a small town and say have 30,000. Well, you have one soul food there, you have one Mexican food, you have one Chinese food, one this. So they dominated that whole market. It's got bigger. Well, what happened was then other ones came in. So now you got two Mexican restaurants, you got two Chinese restaurants, two soul food restaurants. As the city get bigger, and another person, well, I'm up with now you got three. So that competition become even more fierce now. And so your innovation got to come in there. And so it's hard sustainability. You got to keep up with the times. I mean, right now, as I said, doing DoorDash on the side, everybody's adopting the DoorDash. You have to either do one of those carriers, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub. If you're in the restaurant business, that could be 20 to 30% of your business more, adapted to that. Hey, we're going to grab onto that. So first businesses, a couple of businesses, maybe done DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats. Now all of them, just about do it. And so that's what you're talking about as far as companies adapting to and sustainability, is that you got to adapt to the times. One of the things that I'm pretty sure you're seeing as far as adaptability is the shrinkage of the amount of chairs or area for restaurants. Feel like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and other restaurants, right? They used to have a big old lobby area. Now it's smaller. Everything's for what? Drive-through,
Yep.
drive-through, right? They got right now coffee drive-through. Starbucks mainly had a lot of their stores. Right now, they have a lot of Starbucks as what? Drive-through only. And so, that's a renovation where drive-throughs seem to be driving everything. And then when COVID hit, you talk about sustainability, adaptability, right? First, you want to have a couple of stores that have maybe you come up and drive up and get your groceries or your food, right? Now everybody has it, right? So Walmart, Target, grocery stores, whether it's Publix or Food Line or Harris Teeter, all of them now have drive up where you can drive up. So again, you have to adapt to the times. If your competition has drive up, you got to have drive up. And now that's driving the industry. So when I worked at Target, before even Harris Teeter during COVID, they had so many as far as and the COVID forced that upon them that they had to have a third shift just to fill out the orders for people driving up, and getting their groceries out coming in. And so even after COVID, people already got in their heads, hey, this is a simple way of doing this. And so why don't we keep doing it? And so that has driven another area of business in which companies had to focus on. So now we got to hire people just to get the groceries to go for online orders, right? That's another thing, Charles, is online orders become big, right? With the big Amazon, right? Amazon was pretty big, but it got even bigger during COVID when delivery came in big time, right? I talked to a lady, I said, well, how do you go to stores, put your mask on? She said, no, everything on Amazon. What? Everything Amazon. Amazon was mainly butts, right? Butts and here and there. Now Amazon is everything. You get everything from medicines to, whatever you need there. Get on Amazon, So everything's changing, You got DHL, you got Federal Express, and then Amazon come up and boom, 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 boom. Amazon's so crowded now that they hire contractors, right? I mean, before it was just a couple of companies. Now they're like, hey, as an individual, if you want to be delivering for Amazon, we'll contract you out to deliver for Amazon. So the delivery business has gone big time and don't seem to be slowing down. That coincides, Charles, with Uber Eats and with Grubhub and with everything else.
Mm-hmm. Wow. How do you balance profit with purpose?
That's the real delicate balance there. Balance profit and purpose there. Because I'm older, Charles, I don't look for regular profits like most companies do. I know when I was in college in the 90s, it started profits before I would say before 1970s and below, 1980s and below. Companies just want to make a decent profit. It was like let's make 6 to 10% profit. We're doing great. Now everything's at normal profit. People want to get 15, 20% return on their investments. So the profit has gone way up there. And so companies that, cut expenses down to the bonus they can to beat next quarter. And so you have to decide what you want to do as an entrepreneur or as you want to do as a company. How much profit did you want to make compared to purpose? And so that's the key. If you have a board of directors and you're a corporation or you have a board, then profit's all they look for. Purpose is okay, but profit's number one, right? And that's what I told people before. The difference between nonprofit, because you're nonprofit and a for-profit, you still have to make a profit. It is that the goal of the corporation is what? To make a profit or to enlarge the shareholders' wealth. That's your main goal. To where if you're a nonprofit, your main goal is to serve the purpose in which you come into a nonprofit. So if I'm a nonprofit for like let's say like a children's fund, or I'm a nonprofit for to help feed people, my nonprofit would be, my main goal is to feed as many people as I can. If I'm a nonprofit that want to give out wheelchairs to elderly that can't afford them, that's my main goal, right? I have to make a profit still, get grants and whatever donations I can get to make a profit to pay maybe some of the volunteers that I have, but your main goal is that, serving them to make sure you get as many wheelchairs or get as many food out to people you can. For corporations, well, you know how they are, right? Business is nonstop. It's like money, money, money. How can we cut costs? And I used to tell people financial services, hey, the way corporations cut costs is what? Cut employees and cut employee benefits.
Right.
And that's where they come in. So if you're an entrepreneur, then you get to decide, what you want to do. And if you're self-employed, and then you can handle a little bit more better being self-employed.
Okay, I got another question here from Mr. Solomon. He says, Mr. Mitchell Rivers, I got a question to ask you. As an entrepreneur, what are the things that you are required for one to look into before starting a business? And is it advisable to get a loan to a business?
That's a good question.
Let me put it on the screen here so you
can
I
see it. I got it there, but you can put it on the screen if you want to. One of the best things to do, depending on what type of business is talk to people already in that business. That's number one. That's what I'm running like. So if you want to own a restaurant, especially if you get a specialized restaurant. So if you want to own a soul food restaurant or you want to own a pizza restaurant, the best advice is you, before you even start thinking about it, talk to someone who already in that business. Okay. And that's one of the best advice I've gotten for other people. Like, go straight to the quote, the horse's mouth in a sense. They run it. They know what it takes. They know the challenges and the rewards of running that business. And so by talking to them, then you get an idea how that business is run. Another way is also working there. So if, let's say you want to have your own pizza restaurant, the best way to know about running a pizza restaurant is what? Work there. You learn ins and outs of running that restaurant. Even better, becoming management there. Then you know behind the scenes. Now you know about inventory, you know about payroll, you know about insurance. Then that's even better to see if you really want to run a restaurant on your own. Okay. And is it advisable to get a loan to a business? If that's what you want to do. I mean, there's myriad of ways of getting money for a business. There's crowdfunding, to where you ask a lot of people for money. There's as personal friends. There's, of course, grants that you can get. And there's also, of course, getting a business loan. That's going to determine on you and your confidence in your business. If you're an LLC, then, or your corporation, if that business loans go sour or your business fail, then you're only accountable for that business that you have. If you're self-employed, then it may come on to you as far as your personal assets if you don't make that business, if it fails, and your own creditors. And so that's something that you definitely should look into before going to the business. And that's where, again, it comes into go to a small business center. You can go to the SBA website and look into that and talk to people. There are many business organizations. I used to be part of one that really helped me out as far as the questions I have. So get with business organizations. You can Google, want to own a small business, but get in touch with the small business center in your area. The Chamber of Commerce will be glad to have you. Everybody at the Chamber of Commerce, get in touch with them. You can also get in touch with your local community colleges and stuff. They will definitely direct you to the website, or have somebody call you. I know here, I continue to talk to Small Business Center here at Central PMI Community College. In fact, 2 months ago, I feel like my business is stalling, or what direction I need to go in this stage of my entrepreneurship. And so I talked to someone personally, And hopefully, I think about a couple of weeks, they're going to call me back to see how I'm doing. We talk to see where the business was and where we can get it going. And so you got business people there that's experienced in business. They're trying to get you with someone who's experienced in the business that you're in, and then that'll help you out a lot. Having a mentor helps a lot too. I talk about mentorship as far as maybe going to school or overall in life, have a mentor, but also having a mentor in business. I have a mentor for my podcast. I have a mentor for my television and my radio segment. Now, we haven't ran a radio segment in a while. We're going to start that up hopefully in a month or two. But I have a mentor for each one of those. They help me out tremendously because especially if you're new in that area, that's something that you don't know. You need someone to help you. And that way you have to work all the mistakes that they made. They're going to make sure you don't make the same ones and get you further ahead when they started. But is it advisable to give a loan? I think it's advisable to get a loan. I mean, it's something that you really want to do and get as much capital as we said before, raise as much capital as you can. And so it's advisable to get a loan. I think if you can get a loan, get one. That's my advice. But again, it's going to be on your comfortability. And then ask people who's in that business whether if they got a loan, how they felt about the loan, would they have gotten a loan. But if you can, I prefer getting a grant. Probably the best thing to do because you don't have to pay that back. Grant equals gift. So if you can get a grant and get some people to put in some money for you that'll help you out, then use that.
Can you expound a little bit more on the one phase that a lot of people don't talk about, and that was crowdfunding? Can you explain crowdfunding to him?
Well, crowdfunding basically is getting a lot of people to put in money, and I did it through. To be honest, I did it through a website to where I got people to get a lot of money. So you get a lot of people either from. I got mine through. I think it was through StreamYard. I think or. It was through one of the social media outlets, and they said, well, you can do crowdfunding. And that means they reach out to different people, send a bunch of emails out, and ask people to invest in your business. Now, when you do crowdfunding, they're not investing to get something back. They're just investing for your business to be successful. So when you're crowdfunding, you're telling people, please invest in me, more like a donation, but it's not called a donation. It's more like, can you invest in me? You won't get much back. You won't get money back, but it's the way that you can help me. So you get a lot of people giving small amounts. And that's what crowdfunding mainly is. You're not going to get too many big amounts, but you're going to get a lot of small amounts for people who support what you do. I know when I looked at the one, Spotify was, I'm sorry, I got it not Spotify. Spotify had a special area where you can do crowdfunding. And there were some that had maybe 15 to 20 people. No, my fault. Have 50 to 100 people giving a monthly amount every month to make sure your business keep going, or they give a one-time offering. And so crowdfunding is getting a lot of people giving a little bit of money to help you raise the capital that you need or to keep your business going. I mean, one guy was averaging like $10,000 to $15,000 a month. People getting $5, $10. See, and that way, that helps your business going, and that's another revenue coming in for you that you can come in every month.
So, what role does mentorship play in your entrepreneurial journey?
Mentorship plays a lot because I'm familiar with more of I would say media. I'm more, as you stay earlier, I'm more in the financial and retail, and so media is not something that I'm familiar with. And so a mentor was there to help me. In fact, when I got started, I reached out to LinkedIn to Dr. Joseph Williams, who helped me out a lot and get started with my podcast. He told me who I need to go to, where I need to go to, and it cut out a lot of guessing games, right? He told me here, as far as here's what you need for a production guy, here's a writer, videographer, here's a person that can do your trailer. It helped me out so much. And so mentorship is very, very, I would say it's needed when you first start out, especially if you're in an area you don't need. I mean, it's the same thing with radio. I knew nothing about radio, and this was mainly on wdrbmedia.com. I knew nothing about radio, but my mentorship, who helps me out all the time as far as this is what you need to do, Mitchell. Just stay on task here, do this, do that. It helps guide you the way that you can go without making the mistakes that they made before, or making mistakes that you continue to make. They would tell you the best route to go without you going all around different corners there and spend less time going back on mistakes you made and more time concentrating on what you want to accomplish within your business.
How do you handle failure or setbacks in business?
I cry. I cried. I do like everybody. I cried. I cried.
Ooh, boy,
Oh man!
you
But
just don't
seriously,
know.
they just a part of life. I think it's hard because everybody want to be successful. Everybody want to make a lot of money. Even me, I want to make a decent amount of money and help people at the same time. But setbacks is a part of life. I think the advantage, as far as I am concerned, is that my age, right? I've been doing a lot of setbacks in my life, so I know it comes with the territory. And that's where mentorship come in. To be honest, you have someone to talk to about your failures, about things that you're not sure about, or about things that are not going as well as you thought they would go, right? Your hopes and your ideas and where you thought you're going to be from a year or 2 years from now, you may not attain those goals. But if you have a mentor, then you can talk to someone. So the best way I deal with setback is to talk to someone. And mainly if I have a mentor, talk to my mentors, or even talk to my family members. You know, my brothers help me out a lot. So talk to them a lot. But mainly to deal with setbacks, you have to talk to them a lot. Revamp, okay, I need to go back in, restudy your business plan, because my business plan changed. The business plan I have when I first started, there's a different business plan that I have today. Because my business changed today, right? When I first started my business, Charles, I thought it was going to be mainly I was going to do webinars, live events, and I had a podcast, maybe a podcast, right? That was my main thing. But that has changed over time because when my podcast, and then a guy at a television streaming service seen it, he's like, okay, Mr. Damon, he said, hey, we're going to start a streaming service. We're going to do podcasts also. He interested in that. So then I said, okay, great. So he said, that'd be coming in September. So in the meantime, I got a call from WDRB Media saying, hey, you want some free advertising? I said, yes, I have a podcast. I want free advertising. And talked with them. They said, well, hey, why don't you have your own segment? So I said, okay, then I'll have my own segment. So they came in April. And then by September, I was trying to put my podcast on television. So I'm like, man, it occurred to me, I got a little media network here. So that changed totally from what I had, right? So I went from thinking one way and it totally changed. So I had to change my whole format in a sense, or my whole business plan, because I thought I was going one way. I ended up going another way. Now, in order to revamp myself, he said the innovation, now I need to help with that, right? Because I'm not in this business. I'm in a business I'm not comfortable in. And so that's where the mentorship come in. That's where you said no challenges coming in. That's when I talk to my mentors. And so to me, talking to someone who's in that business is the way I go.
What's the most valuable lesson you've learned from running your own company?
The most valuable lesson I'm still learning today is to talk to people, continue to talk to people, to continue to open up and tell your mentors or people you're talking to what you need help about. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm failing at this time, or I don't have it quite right at this time. You know, you think you're going left and you're going right, or I get setbacks, you know. And so I'm learning to open myself up more to people, especially my mentors, about where I think things are going to be and get more honest with them, my fears of where I'm going or not going, not accomplish my goals, my disappointments, right? To being honest to people, to being honest to my mentors about the disappointments and goals that I had. So that way they can encourage me and tell me which way to go, to get off going left instead of going right, right? I get off the road and they put me back on the road. And so that's what I continue to learn is that I got to learn that setbacks going to come. You may take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, but then you may take 4 steps forward and then 1 step back. And so learning to maintain an even keel is probably the thing that I'm learning the most.
Right. How do you identify and seize new opportunities?
I identified as it's something that's going to help my business. It is something that's going to help increase my brand. It is something going to help increase revenue, and it is something that that I'm comfortable doing. And so that is definitely something that that I think about when I'm approaching new things to do, right, or innovative things to do, right. When I told you when I went to radio and then went to television, that's something that I thought would enhance my podcast. So how did I say, you know what? That's going to help my brand. It's going to help get my name out there more. And so, yes, let me do radio. Then television. It's going to help my brand. It's going to my name. And that's when I think it's going to help my business, grow my product or service, and help my brand, then that's how I made the determination. Is it going to help me overall and help the business? If it's something that I'm not comfortable with, or something I don't think is going to help my brand or help my company, then that's how I determine, like, no, I shouldn't do it at this time. I don't want to veer off too much away from my core business. And that's what I had to do. You had to identify your core business. And especially when you're a young entrepreneur like I am, although I'm old as crap, but I'm a young entrepreneur when I'm old, man. But I don't want to deviate too much from the core business there, right? So my core business is media. So let's stay in media there. And does it go with the media part? I mean, I have a long-term strategic plan, but let's do the short term first before we talk about doing the long term. I think one of the questions you want to ask me is that when do I know to expand, or when do I know to go to the next venture if it's within my core value? I know that's coming up. I can see it on your face. And so, yes, that's how I made that determination. Is it going to enhance me? Can I go to make this move? And then that cost, right? How much is it going to cost me to make that next move, right? Is it going to cost me a lot of money? Is it something that I can do, that's attainable, and is within my core business? And so that's when the costs come in. It's going to cost me a lot. Do I have to pay more people? Do I have to contract people? So I had to determine all of that in the realm of, do I bring them into my business? And is that something that we want to do? Because cost is there. And then time. Do I have time to do it? Right? Is it time conducive? Is it going to take me away from my core business? See, you don't want to expand too fast to take you away from your core business. But I was fortunate, and I am fortunate, to where, since my core business at this time is my podcast, then all I did was do radio, which is similar podcast, right? And it's expanding. I'm still running my mouth. I'm still running information there, right? And I'm still able to articulate what I want to do as a company, right? I want to talk to college students. I want to get careers out there. I want to talk about financial literacy. I want to talk about education. And that was just another avenue I can do that. Yes, okay, if it's another avenue I can do that, then let's go for it. Oh, TV, that's another avenue. Okay, that gives me another distribution channel, right? You want many distribution channels that you can use in order to make sure your brand and your message get out there. And that's why I said, okay, let's do this. And so is this something that's going to take me away from my core? No, because all I'm doing is posting my podcast to the television. So the overhead, no extra overhead, no, not too much extra time, because they do most of the time for me. And it is affordable. Yes. Okay, so once you make that determined, then I go ahead and go to my next, as far as my next business venture, but it's still within the core value of our company.
Mr. Sullivan has another question. He says, is GoFundMe the same as crowdfunding?
Only in a sense, crowdfunding is more business term. It's more for businesses. And GoFundMe can be for businesses, but it can be for an array of things. It can be to raise money for funerals. It can be to raise money because someone had an accident or they need certain things. So you can use GoFundMe for your business purposes, but mainly when you use the word crowdfunding, that's more contained to businesses. That I'm investing in this business. I'm investing even in nonprofit. I believe what they do, and so I'm gonna support them. And they may support you on a monthly basis, to where when we're talking about GoFundMe, that's more of a one-time giving. To a crowdfunding, hopefully it can be a monthly giving.
What advice would you give to aspiring Black entrepreneurs?
The number one advice I would give to especially African-American entrepreneurs is go for it. Don't be fear. We still have that ultimate thing is fear, because we have a job, we have this and that, and we're comfortable, especially if you have a family, right? And so, as I told my son today, like he wants to do entertainment stuff, that's fine. But you still got to do your business, right? You still got to have your job or your on-side job or whatever you do to make ends meet with your responsibility as a household, right? As a man or as a woman who helps supports that household and your family. And so you continue to do, and there was a controversy with Tabitha Brown saying that, but I think the way maybe Wacy said it, but she's true. In financial services, they told us this all the time. Look, you come full-time financial services, and once you start making more money in financial services than you do your 9-to-5 job or your side job, then you can do that job. So my son would be an entertainer. I said, that's fine, son. But until you make more money being an entertainer than you do your regular job, to where you can pay your bills and live comfortable, then you can go ahead and do that job that you love, that you have passion for. But until then, that's going to determine how you live. And so If you have a children, if you have a young family, my family, everybody's adults. But if you have a young family, then you're gonna have to, you can do both. I seen people do both. I seen women have 4 or 5 kids, open their own business and successful. I mean, you hear stories like that all the time. Women going back to school. My mama went back to school. We had 4 of us went back to school, got a master's degree. That way she can teach in community college. She didn't want to teach high school. She wanted to go to community college. She went back to school and done that. And so it's good that you can able to do those 2 things together. But you got to understand that if you want to switch to a job, and I talk about this a lot on my podcast, is that if you want to do the job you're passionate about, then sometimes you have to do 2 jobs or 3 jobs in order to you do your job. Because every entertainer you talk to Denzel, you talk to Will Smith, you talk to Kevin Hart, all of them had other jobs, odd jobs before they make it, right? Every actor, every actress you talk to was a waiter, waitress, or something before they made it big. And even when someone made it big, they say, look, I still kept my job until I had enough money to take care of myself on that entertainment end.
How do you build a team that shares your vision?
That is a good question, because I had to learn that. And you talked about earlier as far as what I learned in retail. Building a team is essential to having a successful retail business. It's mainly essential to having a successful store. I found out early on that's going to be like any other sport, right? Your team sport, right? Jalen Hurts don't have to be the best quarterback in the NFL. He just had to have the right team around him to be successful, which he does. Everybody think that you have to be the superstar, you have to be the main one. No, it's your team to do that. And so you have to learn that you hire people that has the same vision you do and that has motivation to do the work that you want them to do. It comes with attitude. And then as a leader, what I did one time is that the employees I were hiring wouldn't stand as long as the employees my assistant manager hired, because I was training him. So I said, you know what, you take over the hiring. That's what I talk about a lot of times. If you weak in one area, somebody said, hey, you just take over the hiring. Mm-hmm. Now, when you took over the hiring, our retention rate was even higher than it was before, right? Mm-hmm. One thing I told my son about being a leader is knowing when to delegate and knowing when to listen to other people. Mm-hmm. They always say you don't want to be the smartest in the room, but you want to have smart people around you.
There you go.
And so that's what I've been learning so far, is that, and the people that work for me now that I contract out, they're way smarter in their area than I am. And so it makes my job a whole lot easier. And so building a team is essential. And the better your team is, the more easy it makes your job. The weaker your team is, the more work you're going to have to do. And the more things you're going to have to stay on top of things, which use your energy. So you don't have enough time to relax and strategically plan to grow your business. If you're doing all the work and you're doing everything and have to check behind people, then we're going to have time to envision as far as trying to get more money for your business, trying to come with better ideas, talking to people, go to seminars, go to workshops to expand your business. You can't, because you're over here too much. You need to be over here to where you can sit back. Okay, now where are we going? And if you know that they're going to do well, then you go ahead.
So what's your strategy for scaling a business?
As far as, well, it depends on the growth of your business. I find that out in retail. Even big companies do that all the time. People say, oh, there's another layoff for a bank. Well, a bank has a layoff, to be honest. I work for First Union Wachovia in Wells Fargo. A bank has a layoff about every 2 years. 2 or 3 years, they're going to have a big layoff, okay? And so they're going to scale their business upon as much revenue they're bringing in. You scale your business to the amount of people that you need to make that business successful or continue to make that business successful, which means you don't hire more employees until you need more employees that's going to be more productive and make your business grow. Right? If I'm a store that is doing good and I'm making $5,000, let's say in a restaurant, let's say I got 3 or 4 waitresses and we're making $5,000, I'm only busy on Friday or Saturdays, then okay, you stay there. But if my business starts growing to where I'm busy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, where I was holding maybe 200 or 300 on Friday and Saturdays, I'm holding like 300 or 400. Now I gotta start hiring more employees. And if I'm doing real well, I might think about another location, right? Restaurants do that, right? If I'm doing real well, I'm going to another location. I know bakeries have done that recently in Charlotte. One lady had a good bakery on this side. She said, we're on the other side of town and put a bakery over there. There's a soul food place here in Charlotte that was on one side of town. They were doing so well, they went to the other side of town. And so know how to scale the business is how well your business is going. And when you scale that business, can you maintain the quality and the service that you've been getting before?
Yeah. I got a question here in the chat here from John Devin Bates. He says, how do you vet or choose a team?
Again, it depends. You can do different ways of that as far as depending on what you need or what industry you in. You can interview people yourself. I've been in the interview process. You can ask around about people, or you can go to Indeed online, right? Indeed and Career Builders, and get applications or resumes, and that's how you build a team through that way. Or word of mouth. If you tell different people, hey, I'm hiring for this position. You know anybody? That's the way you probably a safe way of word of mouth, to be honest. Because if that person word of mouth say, hey, I know somebody do a job, and you trust that person, you know that person that they're recommending is good, most likely. The best employees I had was one that came through word of mouth, to be honest. The one that unfortunately I had to do resumes or I had to get applications through. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. It's kind of hard. That's the thing that every employer wants to do, right? Hire the right people. And believe me, I worked at Target, Walmart, all the big stores before. They go through employees like this a lot of times. You don't know. You just hope you hit them. And once you hit them, the main thing is that once you find a good employee, retain that employee. And that's the thing that I didn't like about corporate America is that I was a ceiling on how much I could pay my employees. I got mad because I'm like, wait a minute here. I have a good employee, and they're doing a very good job, but I can't offer them more money. But I can bring somebody off the street and offer them more money. But my employee, what happened to my good employees, they go right down the street to another store that offer them more money. Sometimes over 50-cent raise or $1 raise. Well, now what happened is when you lose your employee, now more money got spent training that new employee. More money got to spend maybe trustworthy in that new employee and see that employee does the same job as your unemployed you had before. Was that employee that you hired new just as good as the one you let go or they went somewhere else? That's the trick for every business, right? Can I hire employees that's good as the one I hired before that has already left, right? You seen that commercial Indeed, I lost someone. Oh, go to Indeed.com. That's the hard part. But yeah, I go by character. Try to go by character more than what they do. Try to go by if you hear that they're a hard worker, they care about things they want to do more than what they can do. I just find that's always been the best method is that their character. The character means a lot. Because if they work hard cutting grass, or even when I was in retail, if I heard that that young person done their chores or done things around the house and was and help people all the time, those employees come out to be the best employees. Because now you're getting the attitude, right? You're getting the attitude, and if they're able to learn, that's fine. But you got to get the attitude and the trustworthiness first. The character comes first. The character comes first, and then everything else after that. Because if that person with a raggedy attitude or not so good character, you don't want them. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be good for your business because they come in attitude. The first person, depending on what type of industry you're in, if you're in, let's say, even if you're in front desk, right? You're a hostess at a restaurant. If the hostess have a snotty attitude or act rude or have a bad mood, then that sets the whole tone, right? If you go in the doctor's office, I'm in the doctor's office today. Hey, when the person is very nice and everything else, that sets the whole tone for the whole office. But if they very mean and got a nasty attitude, then you're like, okay, I'm not coming back here no more, right? If the waitress is a waiter is not as accommodating or nice, I'm not coming back here no more because the service is not good. The food can be great, but the service is not good, then,
Well, Mr. Bates just wrote in the comments, he says, thanks so much. That was very insightful information.
Glad to help you, Mr. Bates, there.
Let's transition over to your podcast, Career Education Learning Center. Mm-hmm. What inspired you to launch the Career Education Learning Center podcast?
What inspired me to launch that was when I done that as a nonprofit between, as I stated earlier, 2006, 2013. That came about during that time. So let's go back. Let's go back to where when I had that as a nonprofit, to where I went to different schools. I had workshops and seminars talking to young people about getting scholarship grants and free money to go to school or whatever money they can have to go to college, to King College, whether it was a community college, four-year school, or specialized school. And that was the basis there. I also done junior achievement. I taught young people and high school students economics, business classes, and government classes. And so being around young people inspired me to have that organization back then to help them, because I was poured into it as a young person. I had guidance counselors. I had family members that encouraged me to attend school or go to military. And so let's go up. You talking about what inspired me to come up to now, as far as a podcast, is that social media. When COVID and social media hit on, you couldn't go out much. I said, hey, why don't I do the same thing? How can I give back? Again, I always want to give back to the community if I can. I was so blessed, so why not bless someone else? What can I do that's my talent that I've done before that can help people? And can I do it and make money at the same time? And I thought about doing a podcast. So that's where it came out. I said, you know what? Everybody else got a podcast. That's a way of getting my brand out there. So I have to do a podcast. Now, I did not want to do a podcast, to be honest, Charles. That was not on my agenda. I did not want to put myself out there, to be honest with you. That was not, when I first thought, that was not what I was thinking about. I was thinking about going like different schools and everything else. But I felt like, you know what? A podcast would be much easier, and I have a much wider audience, because now everybody has social media. You can get around the world. Not only could I want to not limit myself to the Charlotte area, now I'm going across the state, I'm going across the country, and I'm going across the world. And it gives me a wide variety of people to interview, different careers, different people. So I've interviewed people from India, people from Africa, Asia, all over the world. And so that gives me a chance to interview and see how they feel about their education. Jamaica, Bahamas. I mean, it's great. And I get to see how their educational values and how their careers are going. And so that's how that podcast got started, is what way can I do the same thing I was doing before, but this time not be limited to a geographical area. Here, I can be more transparent on a wider scale. And so I can get my brand, my name, and my message on a wider scale. And I just want to do that in a positivity way. So I thought, what way can I be positive on the airwaves or on social media? And I said, well, you've been doing it before, then do it again, this time on social media. And podcast was one vehicle I knew I could do that.
I got to tell you this. You say you didn't want to do this, but I got to tell you, your communication is like off the chart. It's like above none.
Thank you.
I mean, and so it's like a very easy thing for you, which means that I know that in just saying this, I don't know this, but it's like anything's attainable. That you reach out for because of the way you communicate.
Yes, and I knew this was going to come up, is that is surprising, knowing that me and other people who are preachers and teachers and stuff had a speech impediment when I was younger. I wouldn't hardly talk when I was younger. I had speech impediment. I was going to speech class up to the third grade, which is ironically, I like going there because I got out of classroom. But I said, what was speech? So by the time the third grade, I graduated. Oh man, I can't do a speech no more. But then once I learned to run my mouth, as my family members tell me, and my friends, now you haven't stopped yet. So that's a way I can do that. Right. But ironically, my mom was an English teacher. She was a literature professor, literature teacher. She taught in high school and community college. And so maybe that's where I come from as far as communication skills come from. If you say I have good communication skills. But I had a speech impediment when I was little, and I didn't say much. And now, as my I would say my family members say, now you can't stop running your mouth. So I said, why not put it to good use?
No, but really, that's really cool, because just listening to you, I want you to know that you're giving us today a masterclass. And this is so much appreciated, because people are learning and they are accepting all of this good stuff that you're putting out.
Well, since I've known you, Mr. King, being around people like you, who are very smart and intelligent and want to make positivity as far as a mission and their statement of life, it helps a lot. It encourages me. It gets me to where I want to communicate positively throughout young people as well as the community at large. And I think that helps me out a lot. And so I was glad when I got in touch with you. I was glad that you invited me on this show also, to where I can express myself. But looking at your LinkedIn profile, looking at what you do, it inspires me. It gives me confidence and help me keep going. Even though times I get down, I say, hey, what is Mr. King doing?
Well, look, I appreciate that. But, hey, as we keep doing this excellence, I want you to know that you are contributing to that excellence, because you are proof positive as to what excellence looks like.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
What gap in career education were you hoping to fill? This is doing your podcast.
Right. What gap? Give students a platform to give college and what's high school and college, but I'm just gonna start off with college students a platform to where they can talk, express themselves, and talk about their educational experience. And then on the other end, I thought, well, why don't I have professionals that also is on there to tell about their career journey, how they got to their current career. So that way, when the college students look at either their fellow peers going to college and can do it, when they go to graduate school, get a master's degree, or change majors or different majors that they didn't think they could do, but they're done, right? And then I want the professionals to go ahead and tell them how to take their career and the challenges and the victories that they had and accomplished their career they in thus far. So that's the gap I hope to fill, is that hopefully high school students look at this too. They're talking about, hey, I can go to college or I can go in the military. If I go to the military, I can go to college too. And also the piece I'm more concentrate on maybe next season would be financial literacy. I've had interviews with financial literacy people, having a financial background myself, but hopefully I'll do that more next season too. And that puts it into young people, right? Find out how to handle their finances when they get out of college, right? Because right now they're under mom and dad and they need to learn how to do it themselves. And a lot of times, let's be honest, we don't listen to our parents. Well, we listen to a third party more than our parents. And so I'm trying to fill that financial gap as well as the education gap, as well as thinking about what career you want to do. And so the gap I want to fill is to help young people kind of understand that all three of those go hand in hand. You don't have to go out to college to be educated. You become an entrepreneur. But whatever you become, you got to educate yourself within that job. As I stated earlier, if you want to run a pizza restaurant, how you become educated, you go work at a pizza restaurant. You educate yourself at a pizza restaurant. Then you become a manager at that pizza restaurant, and now you can own your own pizza restaurant. And then you start off with one, then you start off with two, then you start off with 3 or 4. Now you have a pizza franchise. You didn't go to college, but you want educated people. No, that person was educated on their job that they done since they were 18, 19 years old. Now they're 30 years old, now they have 3 pizza restaurants.
Right.
See, education is not always in the form of a book. Education is also on-the-job training also. And that's what I want kids to understand. Like some kids say, I'm not smart enough, or I don't want to go 4-year school. And I heard that a lot when I was going out in the field. I said, well, there's other jobs out there. There's other careers out there. There's a military career. I know a lot of people done military careers, very successful. There's careers out there to where you can do air conditioning and heating. You can do welding. You can be a technician in the medical field, not in the computer field, software area. There's many a myriad of jobs that if in the community college you can be. You can be in life insurance license. Get your license. I try to stress that a lot. Get your license. Get your security license. As far as becoming a broker. Get your life insurance license. You can get your health insurance license. These licenses are just as important as your education, because you can have a degree, but I can't practice real estate if I don't have a real estate license. I can have a degree. I can't sign somebody for life insurance. I don't have a life insurance license. I can have a degree, but if I don't have my broker's license, then I can't sign people up to invest in different companies to where I can make money. And so I understand the licenses are important, that if you don't want to go one track, the 4-year school, then fine. Then there's the other tracks that you can go in order to be successful. And that was one of my main things too, that you don't have to be successful just to have a degree. But if you do want a degree, let's see how you attain that degree and help you get that degree. And then life happens, as you know, Charles, is that you may not want to pursue what you thought you wanted to pursue. A lot of students said that. I wanted to be an accountant, but I found out this was better for me here. I think one young lady said that she was going one area, she wanted to be a nurse, but once she started doing an internship as a nurse, she found out she didn't really be a nurse, I don't know. I don't want to be a nurse. No. It went the other way, You find out that one lady, I talked to another, a young lady said, I want to go into pediatrics. She said she seen all that, what required about that the first year of college. Woo, got to change that major.
Yep.
And so you find out, hey, you're going to change. And I want them to be not afraid to change, right? You're going to change. You're going to change throughout your lifetime. You may change your major. You may change what you want to do. You yourself are going to grow and change. And so I don't want young people to be fear of change that they can't change or they can't pursue. If you're an artist, I did have an interview a couple weeks ago with for artists. They started off as an artist, and then they had their own gallery. That's something that people think about. Y'all had a struggling artist or whatever. But, and that's another thing about social media too, Charles, is that now I see artists on social media, they're able to sell their art on social media.
Yep, surely can.
Right? Knowing that innovation, right? Knowing that adaptability, right? So now you don't have to just own your gallery or be part of a gallery or go around to different flea markets or areas. Now you can also do it online to where you got more of an audience, more people watching you and can order online now and get
Yep.
you. So you're going to make more money doing that, If you're a singer, how many singers, Luis, in the last 2 or 3 years that we've heard, whether jazz musicians or singers themselves, that have been discovered on social media?
Yep.
I can't think of the young lady's name, but there's one real big jazz musician that was on social media, a young lady, and she got discovered in jazz, and now she's doing records and flying around the world. And so I want young people to know the opportunities that's out there for them. And that was the reason, that's the gap I want to fill. I'm going to put positivity in their lives, and I want them to know that there's other areas of careers. If they don't choose a career in the beginning, they won't. They didn't always change their career. Don't be afraid to change, and don't feel like a failure if you didn't make it in the career that you sought first.
How do you choose your podcast topics and guests?
I choose, depends. I go by mainly what they do and major. If I do college students, I go by try to get different majors and different things that they do. So I have somebody in drama. I finally got somebody with drama major, is in drama and film production. If I look on LinkedIn, a lot of them I get off LinkedIn. If I see somebody that's in public health, if I see someone that's doing that's want to be a doctor, or someone that's want to be in criminal justice, and so I go over and looking at different majors first, to be honest. And then I try to get a array of diversity too. I try to get male, female. I try to get people with different races, people of different nationalities, and people in different countries. So I look at all of it together to choose my guests that I have. And then as far as professionals, I do the same thing. I try to get people that's doing different things. So I was happy to get an artist. I was happy to get a financial person. Happy to get a lady that's a lawyer. Happy to get people that's in their doctorate degree, and all kinds of different professions there. A lot of entrepreneurs I got on my show. And so I try to get different professions, different careers. So I'll probably go by that way first.
And so when we last chatted, I informed you that we do Black History 365.
Okay.
And I asked you, who were your the most influential people or persons in your life and career in Black history? And you told me that it was your mother and your career counselor.
Yes, my mother. Yes, number one would be my mother. As I said before, my mother attended North Carolina A&T University. She graduated salutatorian. She said she's a bit valedictorian, but hey, she was very smart. Very smart. She stressed education. To be as smart as my mother was, she stressed education and being a school teacher. My dad was also a school teacher. He was a music major, music teacher. But to stress it and not put pressure on me. My pressure came because I'm number 3 of 4 kids. My pressure came because my 2 older brothers were very smart. My pressure came, they came home with A's, and I came home like, okay, I'm happy. They mad they get a B and cry. I'm happy if I get an A or B. I'm like, oh, good, good. And the role model come into where my mother, she didn't put that pressure on me to where I had to be the same as them. Do the best you can. And she stressed, and where I got this from, she stressed that, especially teaching at a community college, she stressed that kids just, that the 2-year degree can be just as important in getting the 4-year degree. So when the kids know, as smart as I am, and much I'm an English teacher, and I want you to know, speak English, and I want you to have good communication skills. And if you want to go to 4-year degree, there's certain areas that you need communication skills. If you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, whatever, in those certain professions, you need to have a degree. But if you don't have a degree, and she instilled in me, like air conditioning, heating is good, carpentry is good, all the other areas within the community college is very well, and you can make a very successful living at it. And so I probably that's where that role model come in, is that I'm finding out as I examine my life. And my mother passed away in 2013. But the legacy left to me is that, treat everyone with respect, whether they're on the custodian staff to the CEO, treat everyone with respect. There are different professions out there that people can do. Not everybody's going to be the entertainer. Not everybody's going to be a pro basketball, football player, or baseball player. But everybody can learn and do a trade. Everybody can do some type of trade or good at their job. And so that's what she taught me, and that's where that role model come in. And for my career counselor, he taught me as far as he loved diversity as much as I do, right? I try to have a diverse crowd and diverse guests on my show. He liked diversity too. And he taught me the same thing as far as colleges, go where you want, go where you want it. Not everybody's meant to go to a big school. If he can kind of tell by your personality, you need to go to small school, or HBCU may be good for you, or PWI may be good for you, or go to this school. It's a medium-sized school, it's not too far away. You're a person that don't want to go far away. You're a person that want to go far away. So he did an excellent job as far as instilling the kids to pursue a career. Not only a 4-year degree, but also choose a career in military, choose a career in 2-year schools, specialized schools, where you become a barber in hair salon and other areas there. And as you know, barbers and hair salons, they make a lot of money. If you're a stylist, right? They make a lot of money, especially these days. And so, like I said before, you open up one barber shop, you get another barber shop, you get another barber shop. I got quite a few friends that have 2 or 3 barber shops. There's women I know that have 2 or 3 standing salons. They make very good money, very comfortable living, and it's something they enjoy doing.
So why is Black history central to your personal and professional identity?
Because I'm African American, and because of the history of African Americans, and because our stories don't get told as much. As I said before, I used to go around different schools and talk about colleges and talk about scholarships and grants, but I also taught some Black history. I'm a Black history buff. Did not realize it, Charles, that when I looked at my report, my transcript when I graduated college and high school, I made all A's in history. Did not know that. Would have changed my major. I just / business and a history major. I enjoy history. I love Black history, but I think our story has not been told. I think we get a short end of a stick when it comes to schools teaching Black history, how much we have contributed to this country and the world at large. We don't get taught about the African history before slavery, how much we as African people of African descent has made a tremendous contribution to the world at large, how much other cultures adapt to our culture, how much we mean to this world, how much Africa can sustain itself, but other people can't sustain themselves. Everything that Africa has, it has everything that it needs to sustain itself. They don't need no outside, to where other countries need the African outside resources to survive. The cobalt comes from Africa. Your phone, everything that we have electronics, your phone, and then we do, all those raw materials come from Africa. The diamonds that you have, the gold, the amount of gold that's in Africa. And so I think it's really important for our young people to understand that we were great kingdoms before slavery, before the transatlantic slave trade, that we are a part of that great history, part of Egyptian history, part of the Kushites and the Jebusites and all those great kingdoms back in the day. And so that we're very smart and intelligent people, and that although recently within the 1800s that we have been told otherwise, no, you come from a background of kings and queens of this world. You come from great civilizations. You come from people that had geometry, astrology, that had irrigation systems, that had all kinds of technology before other people even thought about invading us. Okay, we did all that. Even in modern times, the inventions that we have, right? From Garrett Morgan doing the traffic light and the gas mask, to the guy with the super soaker, to the lady with the eye surgery, the laser beam eyes. There's so much Black history, to refrigeration that we've done. Charles Drew with the blood plasma and everything else. There's so much rich history there that our kids are not told. And so I want that to be told to our kids, for that way they have a self-identity, that we not only were slaves and that we only go to Jim Crow or the negativity of it, but the great things that we have done in the history of mankind.
Can you share a moment when Black history deeply influenced your path?
That's a good question, man. I may become on my podcast. Ask these questions to you then.
Yes, sir.
I I guess taking my first Black History course, Charles, when I really knew it. My mom and dad going to HBCUs as only they could go back in the day, really influenced a lot of that. In addition to my career counselor, his father was also Mr. William Shuford, and his father, Mr. William Shuford Sr., influenced us. He took me in the Boy Scouts. He took us to a HBCU football game. He took us to take us trips and visit the naval academies and naval bases because he was in the Navy. That's when it become real to me. When I go to Black campuses and visit Black campuses, the church is the main influence. Now, ironically, within the minutes we have, I grew up in a white Catholic church. My mom was Catholic, my dad was Baptist. So when I go from one church to another church, there was a real difference there, a big difference there. But the church maintains a grassroots of African history that really helps me as far as knowing when that transition was. And then, like I said, my first Black History course, knowing all the things I didn't know. I thought I knew a lot from my parents, but knowing that we had inventors, knowing that we had scholars, we had poets, we had writers, knowing that with civilizations before we came up with the transatlantic slave trade, that we had kingdoms that was outstanding. They can't figure out the pyramids today and how that was made. Knowing that we invented geometry, astrology, all the math, all the paper, and all the stuff that we invented. Knowing that, like, wow, I come from an ancestor of great people. I come from ancestors that done a lot to this world and contributed to this world. And so that's my great Black history moment, taking my first Black history course, in which I can remember I made it like I had a 98, 99 average, something like that.
Mm-hmm. So how has your mother shaped your understanding of resilience and ambition?
The resilience come in when your husband dies and leave you four children to grow, four children to raise, in a sense. When my father died, my oldest brother was 16, 14. I was 11. My younger brother was 2. Mm-hmm. And that was in 1977, I think. And for her to raise 4 boys by herself, that's resilience. Mm-hmm. And then for me to try to raise my kids with a wife, with a partner, I'm like, how did she make it with 4 boys during that time? You know what I'm saying? You got basically 3 teenagers at one time trying to raise them, and a 2-year-old, and went back to school and got her master's at the same time. After the 2 older ones went to college, who had got her master's when I was in high school, and still raised my younger brother too. That's resilience. And so I didn't have to go far to know about resilience and Black history than my mother. No doubt about it.
What lessons did your career counselor teach you that still guide you today?
Yeah, the biggest lesson that he taught me was people. Be fair to people. Respect everybody of different races, different cultures, and that everybody can learn something, right? There's something everybody can learn. And my mom said everybody has a talent. Everybody can learn something. Even autism, we find autism people or people can learn something, and whatever autism person get to, man, once they get to it, man, they are focused, they are super focused, and they learn something. That everybody has something to contribute, no matter what race, no matter what gender, what sexual orientation, what origin you come from. Everybody can contribute something. Treat everyone the same. Treat everyone with respect. I hate when people say you got to earn respect. No, you can lose respect, but you still have to earn it. You should earn respect just by being a child of God. To me, you're a child of God. I see you. I don't know you. So why not think positive? Give you the benefit of the doubt before I start putting negativity into that space. Exactly. So those are the biggest values that my mother and my career counselor taught me, is to love everyone and to treat everyone with respect, regardless of their income, their status, or where they come from.
And final question for you. How do you honor your mother's legacy through your work?
By being who I am today, by helping other people the best way I can and giving back to the community, by having a podcast and putting out positivity throughout the atmosphere the best way I can. And so if people say, and what Martin Luther King said, if people can remember me as being a positive influence, a man who loves God, who loves Christ, a man who loves his men ministry, the man who gives back to the community and love everyone, and try to live the best life that he can live, that would be great. So I'm just trying to live the best life I can live, to please my Lord and my family.
In closing, what is words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like to leave for our audience, how they can connect with you on social media, and how they can follow you on your websites or your social media, all of those good things?
Yes. And words of wisdom is never give up and continue to follow your passion. Whatever career you seek, you can try to go get it. Don't hesitate. Don't let fear stop you from accomplishing your goals that you want in life, whatever that goal may be. And continue to go on and move and ask for help too. I think the biggest thing that as being an adult, I think my son don't know is ask for help. And whether it's mental help, you need mental help, or whether it's physical help, or whether you need help when you're down, ask for help. Don't be scared to reach out to people if you need help. Um, Continue to love on people, think positive people first, give them the benefit of the doubt, and respect everyone, regardless of what their background is, regardless of their economic status, regardless whether they're homeless or make millions of dollars. Respect everyone and show love. Let's just show love to one another, and that's what I want to leave behind them. As far as getting in touch with me, you can catch me on my podcast, Career Education Learners in the Podcast. We're here on YouTube. You can catch me every Thursday at 1 p.m. on Infusion TV on the Mobile Global Network. My radio segment will start back in about a couple of months. And you can also reach me by LinkedIn or my email, mitchellrivers64@yahoo.com. And go to my website, careereducationlearningscenter.com. And so you can reach me in any of those ways. But probably LinkedIn is probably a good way to reach me. Send me a direct message. I'll love to get back to you and help you any way I can.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing this time with us and actually teaching us that master class, especially that segment on the entrepreneurship, because that was definitely thorough, and that was definitely what I know a lot of people are seeking. And you helped an enormous amount of people out with that, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Charles, for having me on your show, and thank you for what you do in the community and positivity you put back into the community. Thank you for what you do also.
I thank you so very much. And look, that's why we all are doing what we're doing. So we all get that collaborative thing together where we can make this work. For those of you that are watching on all of the channels that we're streaming, I want to thank you for listening to this masterclass that Mitchell just taught us tonight, because the segment in which we talked about entrepreneurship is the part that really sticks out more to me than anything. The whole show was excellent, but that part, that's the part where we know that there's so many people that are out seeking entrepreneurship and how to get started. What are some of the things to do? What can they do? Mitchell just helped you all out by telling you, if you've got questions, don't be ashamed to ask those questions. If you need to learn from someone else, go learn from someone else. Get that mentorship, but don't be afraid to ask. Failure is not the thing that you should be worried about. If you start that business and it's something that you want to do, that means keep at it. Don't stop. Because if you stop, then that means that you're giving up on yourself. But if it's your dream, you must pursue that. Because, hey, no business in the beginning is like, oh, it's 100% flourishing. That's a work in progress that you have to get to that point before you start seeing this. So that means continue to do what you do. I want to thank all of you for watching. For those of you that are watching on those YouTube channels that we're broadcasting live through, please take the time to subscribe and get all of the notifications to those channels. We would definitely appreciate the support, because the support, as you join and you subscribe and you get those notifications, are how we continue to reach all of the audience as broad as we possibly can reach. And we're going to continue to do this. I want to thank you guys again. We will be back tomorrow night with another great show here on America in Black and White, where we will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. I want to thank you again, Mitchell. Thank everybody for watching. We will see you guys tomorrow night, and you all have a great evening.